In today's episode, where have the Eagles improved and what we can expect next season? Welcome to the West Sports Show. This episode is brought to you by TabTouch. The more you know, the better it gets. Download the TabTouch app today. Real punters play here. What are you really gambling with? It's Tuesday and I'm joined as always by Craig O'Donoghue. How are you, Cod?
Season over for West Coast, so it means that we get to the stage of the year where we can review things and where Eagles fans can look back and go, did we have the season we thought we'd have, or was it better, or was it worse?
How would you rate the final performance, the round 24 performance against the Hawks?
They were flat as attack, as they have been for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But they, most importantly, as we spoke about last week, they did not allow Hawthorn to achieve what they wanted to achieve. So that was important. They made sure that the Hawks have to come back here in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, they didn't get spifflicated. But look, before we go on to the Eagles and a more general theme, Harley Reid. So the Eagles have appealed today. So that sling tackle, he's copped the 2 weeks for careless, high impact, high contact for that sling tackle on John Newcomb. Now, rightly, they've got the avenue to appeal, and they've rightly done so. We'll be hearing that on Wednesday night. What do you think? I think they'll go for medium impact to try and get it down to a week when they're entitled to do so. They may well be successful because Jay Newcomb played the game out. He did have to leave the field for an assessment, but he did play the game out. I think it's too weaker. I think it was a really careless tackle with the prospects of causing serious, or the potential to cause serious injury, which they haven't really utilised this year. They did bring that in this year, but we haven't really seen much of it, have we?
I'm a big believer that when you go to a tribunal, it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what I think, and it doesn't matter what the fans think. It matters what the tribunal thinks after hearing the argument that the lawyer mounts.
So what argument will they mount?
I think they will argue, and I think this is an argument they can put forward that will give them a chance, that the fact that John Newcomb came off for the concussion assessment is the reason it has been assessed as high impact, because the doctors looked at it and went, we need to talk to you further. But if I'm the West Coast lawyer, I'm saying the doctor went out into the ground instantly, the umpire stopped the game, and he assessed John Newcomb on the field and was content for Newcomb to stay on the ground. Then Newcomb kicked a goal from outside 50. That shows that he wasn't seriously hurt at the time. Now, the fact that he comes off because the vision shows that it was dangerous and that they have to then assess things, that pushes it definitely higher. I think it'll be a struggle to win, but if you mount your argument really, really strongly and can find some precedents about players staying on the field and being able to do significant things like Newcomb did with the goal, you might be able to win the battle. It's a tough one. The lawyer has to be really, really prepared. But if you mount the case strong enough, they might be able to get it won. But I'm expecting him to miss the first two games.
It wasn't a great look. It was a terribly executed tackle with the potential to cause more serious injury than it did.
It was a tackle that he didn't have control over, and that's the problem. When you sling and you pull a player to ground, you are leaving gravity to decide how he lands.
Isn't it interesting? As much as he's had a really good year, Harley Reid, but it pretty much sums up his season. That little bit of red mist.
Yeah, and it will cost him at least one game next year. West Coast will be
2.
hoping it's not 2, because that would guarantee he misses their first home game, whether it's round 1 or whether it's round 2. And you don't want to miss him for multiple games. But yeah, there is a winnable argument if you go in really, really prepared, but you can't afford to leave a single hole open for the other lawyer to walk through.
So you and I both had the Eagles winning 4 games this season. That was our preseason prediction. Well, we were bang on.
Yeah.
4-19.
Yeah, and we said we expected them to. My comments at the start of the year were, I thought that the best thing for them was a 4-win season. I didn't think they could win any more than that, but to be in a lot more games, which they were. They stayed in games. Also felt they needed to find a way to recover during games when they were blown away early, which they managed to do, and to increase their percentage, which they did. It finished on 69.2, which still isn't good enough, but they have taken a step forward. I would have liked that percentage to be higher, to be closer to 80, because they still had a lot of games where it was really ordinary at different points. But they have done enough in other areas of their game to say, well, they have taken steps forward, and now next year needs to be the time where they take major steps forward.
Look, I liked the fact that they got games into kids. Players like Willem Dersma, for example, it was his first year, looked really tired towards the end of the year. Played him in a variety of positions, so he wasn't just exposed full-time in the midfield, which could hurt him long-term. So I like that aspect of it. I like the fact that we had real development. under difficult circumstances for players like Rhett Bazzo. So Ruben Ginbey leaves that team. Rhett Bazzo steps up as a key defender and, really realises that potential we've been hoping for some time. I think Milan Murdoch was one of the stories of the year. He's come in very late in the pre-season and has been one of the real finds in the AFL, I think, franking it with a really good performance in the final game against Hawthorn.
Yeah, no, he has absolutely been a find. The teenage guys, the young guys you mentioned, they're the ones that stood out to me. So I've gone back and had a look at the last 4 years of this rebuild, which are all 23-game seasons, so that the stats provide the same opportunity for numbers. So this year, across the 26, 25, 24, 23 seasons, they played more games for players who were teenagers at the start of the year than they did at any other point. So if you were 19 and 364 days in round one, you were still a teenager for the year as part of this process. So, more games this year than at any other point. It was 112 games by teenagers this year. Last year, it was 82. The year before that, it was 79. And then it was 111 games in 2023. So they did invest in their young guys, which was the most important thing you can do when you are in a rebuild. If you look at their other areas where we can say that they have improved, it was their most points for across the last 4 years. So they were ranked 18th in 2023 and 17th in the previous 2 years. They're up to 16th this year. Their points for rose from 1466 last year to 1615. So that was a good jump up. It was their least points against in the last 4 years as well, which is why their percentage improved, because they improved both their ability to score and their ability to stop the opposition from scoring.
And I think we did make the point pre-season. It wasn't necessarily about wins and losses. It was about those really big losses and an improvement in percentages, which is where they would be measured. I think players like Cooper Duff-Tytler too, games into him, I think we've seen enough to know he's a keeper. Joe Shanahan's continued improvement. And all of this, so we see the improvement in offence, and Jake Waterman had a bad year in front of goal. So you would expect him to improve next year because it became a real mental barrier at the end and continued in round 24.
Absolutely. His kicking was a problem. A lot of people will say, well, he got the ball. Well, that's correct. But your job is to finish, and it's really, really important that he finds a way to make sure that he does finish. Now, the positive for him getting a lot of the ball was the amount of inside 50s that they did get. Once again, over the last 4 years, this is the most inside 50s they have had in a season throughout the last 4 years. They had 1,133 inside 50s. You go back 4 years ago, they had less than 1,000. So they've risen from the worst in the comp in 2023 to 17th for the past 2 years and up to 15th inside 50s. And you can't score if you don't get the ball inside 50.
From concepts to completion, major infrastructure developments are transforming WA, including new hospitals and transport improvements, more affordable homes, and vibrant recreational and community spaces for the benefit of all Western Australians. Major projects are also providing economic benefits through the creation of local jobs, training, and employment opportunities. Together, we're building for tomorrow. Search Building for Tomorrow to find out what it means for you. This player update is brought to you by Allianz Australia, official insurance partner of the West Coast Eagles, sharing the stories of resilience behind every comeback. Allianz, care never gives up. Cod, we're putting our hopeful hats on right now, and I'm looking at Harry Edwards. Harry, unfortunately, could not finish the season with those concussion issues. We have our fingers crossed that he is able to make his way. Firstly, that his health is okay. That's the number one priority. Number two, if it is, and he's able to continue his career, that he gets back there into that key position in defence for the Eagles. I think they could be strong in defence. Rhett Bazzo has developed nicely there. We're going to get Ruben Ginbey back. And I was impressed with the round 24 performance from Tyler Young. Now, Tyler Young has been a bit of a whipping boy among fans this year. It came to the club as a good one-on-one defender. Hasn't been such a good one-on-one player at the Eagles, but I liked his job on Jack Gunston after quarter time at the weekend. I thought he showed enough to be given another chance next season. So, but Harry Edwards is sort of he's pivotal to this back six.
He is, yeah. And the number one reason we want to see him playing footy again is because that would mean that he's healthy.
Happy and healthy, yeah.
And that's the key to why we're talking about him in this segment, because unfortunately he's been battered and that means that we're not sure whether those concussion issues will allow him to play footy again. But if he does get back and is healthy again, it will be good for his long-term future, and it'll be great for West Coast backline because he's such an important
another
person
player
for the group.
you've got your eye on for next year who you think could be really important, and I agree with you.
Yeah, we haven't seen enough of Elijah Hewitt. We just haven't. His body has been a problem, and then his confidence has been a problem because of that, and form and fitness then becomes a problem because he doesn't get out there. He needs a good run at it. Just needs a strong, healthy preseason and a full season of footy where he can feel like he's just able to play. He's got a long-term deal with himself at West Coast now, so they've committed to him, and he's committed to them. So if he can play, then you get some speed, you get some skill, you get some creativity, you get some hardness. He is a top draft pick from a couple of years back, so he will just add to them so much and just needs a decent run at it because it's been hard for him.
I think has tried as a high half forward. It's just not for me. I think I can imagine this midfield. So you've got Harley Reid, so you've got Will Dersma, maybe Elliot Yeo, at least for another year. Just as that stoppage beast. I think Elijah Hewitt can be that. I've long had faith in him, but he's just got to get his body right. So that'd be a pretty potent midfield if he's in there.
Well, if West Coast pick a midfielder this year in the draft, if you looked at, they've talked about wanting to win a flag by 2030. If Harley and Willem Dersma both stay long term as well, if their midfield around 2030-ish is Harley Reid, Willem Dersma, Elijah Hewitt, and whoever they draft this year as a top 5 pick, it's a pretty imposing sort of looking centre square. So that's why it's important for Elijah Hewitt to get himself right because, I love the way he plays, and that will help to set them up for a real crack at it into the future.
Didn't mind the look of Gross late in the year too.
Yeah, he's not that sort of class though that you're talking about with Hewitt and
we haven't seen enough of him though. Really,
no, but he's not the draft class.
No, he's not. He's not a top 10 pick,
an early player like that. But they've shown that their early picks can play. So if you add another star into that midfield and Elijah Hewitt goes in there as well, then that's an imposing sort of centre square setup.
So we just mentioned that it's not about wins and losses, but what is your expectation or pass mark for them next year? I'm going to say 6 to 8. I think they can win 6 to 8 games. We haven't seen the fixture yet, but they'll get a pretty good fixture given their ladder position. So
they get a bottom 6 fixture. So it's broken into bottom 6, middle 6, top 6. So the bottom 6 gets the easiest fixture. You play other teams in the bottom 6 more, and you play teams that finish in the top 6 the least. So when it comes to repeat matches, so that will allow them to have the opportunity to win more games because Essendon are going to be terrible and Richmond are going to be terrible. So if you take those two teams and you play them twice, well, you should get 4 wins, shouldn't you? And then you look at what will Port Adelaide look like with Zach Butters leaving. They're obviously going to have some early draft picks and go young. So how many games you get against those teams will be really, really interesting. So what the fixture looks like will determine a lot of things. But they had the 4 this year. Port Adelaide finished above them with 7, and then Gold Coast and North were on 9. So you would want them to be getting between that 7 and 10 mark, I reckon, next season to genuinely move up. But the number of wins will depend on the teams they play twice.
Yeah,
you want them to get Richmond and Essendon.
I'd be okay with 6 to 8. I think they were in more games. There were games they should have won this year, so they could have well won 6 games this year. But they were in games for longer. Importantly, I think they were in games. They tailed off at the end of the year, but I think in the meaty part of the season they were still in it at half time. You couldn't have said that 2 years ago. No,
what you do not want to jump up from where they are now to like where North Melbourne and Gold Coast are and sit there on the ladder. You need to have the season where you go from being bad to being wild card. Because if you have a season where you just drop below that, you don't get the draft picks and you don't get the sustenance of big games either. So when they jump...
The old Richmond Knightsman. Yeah.
Well, and now it's at 11, 12, 13 area. You don't want to finish a season in there. So it's important that when they do have their jump, which you would expect to start next year because they've put enough time into these guys now, that they find a way to win home games and beat terrible teams so that they don't end up in no man's land.
I'm giving them a C+ this year. You?
We said 4 wins and improve your percentage would be the pass mark that we would expect, and they've done that. So whatever the mark is, I don't know is a C+ a pass these days? I wouldn't know
it's a pass. It's a pass.
Yeah, so I'm giving them a pass. I'm not giving them a figure because I don't know what I'd accept from my kids as a pass. But they have done what I expected them to do this year from my win-loss and percentage position.
You have been listening to the West Sports Show. This episode has been brought to you by Tab Touch. The more you know, the better it gets. Download the Tab Touch app today. Real punters play here. What are you really gambling with? And remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. Cod, thank you very much.
No worries, Quarters.